Who saved thousands of lives without any recognition? The Lighthouse Keeper. This is his story. There are more than 18,000 lighthouses worldwide. Most of them are now automated with electric beacons, and ships have GPS, so lighthouse keepers have pretty much become obsolete. So let's go back in time to see what it took to keep the light on and to keep ships from crashing into the rugged coastlines. The first lighthouse was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It was Egypt's Pharaohs of Alexandria, built around 247 BC. It was built mostly with solid blocks of limestone and granite. It used a huge open fire at the top. Not only was it the world's first, it was also the tallest ever built, at an astounding 387 feet high. It stood until an earthquake took it down 1,570 years later. I wonder how long it took to climb to the top to replenish the wood to keep the fire going every night. The first lighthouse in America was at Boston on Little Brewster Island. It was built in 1716. The original tower was destroyed by the British and eventually reconstructed in 1784. The tallest lighthouse in North America is the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse on Hatteras Island, North Carolina. It is 198 feet tall with 269 steps to the top. It was built in 1870 and has withstood 40 hurricanes with minimal damage. I'm in Pensacola, Florida, where I was born many years ago. But this lighthouse has been here a lot longer than that, since 1859. It has withstood rounds of cannon fire during the Civil War, lightning strikes, an earthquake, and multiple hurricanes. This lighthouse originally used 10 whale lamps, each with a 14-inch reflector. The keeper had to carry up the fuel several times a day. On long winter nights, it could use 7 gallons. He definitely got his exercise. The lighthouse was electrified in 1939, making his job a lot easier. Over the centuries, the source and quality of the light gradually improved. From wood-burning fires to coal, pitch, and oakum, even rows of candles. In the 1700s, the parabolic reflector was invented. It was a bowl-like device with a small oil lamp in the center. The light from the lamp was focused into a beam. Later, the invention of the argan lamp could be lit using fuels like lard oil and sperm whale oil. One of the greatest improvements in lighthouse technology came in 1822 when the Fresnel lens was invented. It resembles a giant beehive with a system of multifaceted glass prisms mounted in a brass frame. The prisms reflect and refract or bend light and magnify it, focusing it into a single beam. The light could now be flashed by rotating only the lens assembly, while the light source itself remained stationary. Before the invention of the Fresnel lens, the brightest lighthouse beams could only be seen from 8 to 12 miles away. The light from a Fresnel lens could shine all the way to the horizon, more than 20 miles away. The Fresnel lens was so effective, it is still in use today in most lighthouses. It was important that the lens be kept as clean as possible, and the brass fittings of the lamp needed to be polished. If the lens became dirty, the beam could not be seen by the passing ships, and this could be a disaster. Keepers could be fired for not keeping the lens clean. The outside windows needed to be kept clear in all weather: rain, snow, sleet, and ice. That meant going outside on a walk in high winds and clearing off the windows. Captains and pilots of ships depended on the light being visible to help pilot them along in all weather, particularly during storms. There was a clock-like mechanism that was wound, and this turned the lens. It was designed to make the light flash correctly in accordance with its own unique character. No 2 lighthouses used the same pattern of flashes. The keeper had to wind it up every 2 hours. When the fog rolls in, fog signals are used. Various types have been whistles, sirens, reed trumpets, bells, and horns. The first fog signal in this country was at the Boston Lighthouse, and it was a cannon. Being a lighthouse keeper was one of the hardest jobs around 100 years ago. Keepers worked long, grueling hours and had to be willing to put their own lives in danger in order to keep others safe. They had to work in all kinds of weather, especially during hurricanes, blizzards, and gales when passing ships were in the greatest danger. Being a lighthouse keeper was not a job for the faint of heart. It could lead to physical and mental health issues due to isolation and repetitive tasks. These challenges included depression, alcoholism, and even psychological changes like manic behavior. The work was also physically demanding, involving heavy lifting, climbing steep stairs, and potential falls. Sometimes the keepers lived in a house next to the lighthouse, and some had their families with them, and some of the lighthouses had 2 or 3 families that worked multiple shifts. There are lighthouses in remote areas out on a rocky coast or on an island up to 40 miles offshore, where the keepers would live inside the lighthouse. When the sea was too rough to send a boat to relieve them, their stay could be extended for days or weeks at a time. Getting the keepers on and off the lighthouse could be very dangerous, as this footage from one in France shows.
Oubliez la gaffe.
Je regarde le ce qui se passe.
Most lighthouses had 2 or 3 keepers, each working a different shift. The crew would get relieved every 2 weeks by another crew and then would get 2 weeks off before going back. Some lighthouses only had 1 keeper. He was at work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He could not call in sick and rarely took a day off. Although he was on call 24 hours a day, he was actually only paid for 8 working hours per day, 4 during the daylight hours and another 4 at night. The keeper began his day by dressing in the official uniform of the lighthouse service. The uniform consisted of blue pants, vest, suit jacket, and hat. The uniform had to be worn at all times on duty. If a keeper was found wearing the uniform improperly, he could be fined or even fired. Before electric lamps became available, he had to fill up a heavy 5-gallon container with oil and then climb the steps to the top to fill the lamp. The keeper had to light the tower's lamp every night and make sure that the lamp stayed lit until the sun rose the next day, adjusting the wick and making sure it burned as brightly and clean as possible. But during a storm like a hurricane, the light had to be kept in operation 24 hours a day until the storm was over. By the middle of the 20th century, electrification allowed the watch to be kept in the mess room or kitchen, where an indicator showed that the light was functioning properly. When there was no way to run electric lines out to the remote lighthouses, they had to rely on big diesel engines for generators to power the lighthouse. An additional engine was used to make the compressed air that was stored in a tank for the foghorns. These engines needed constant maintenance to make sure they ran correctly, and their fuel needed to be delivered on time to replenish the tanks. Duties of a lighthouse keeper: clean, paint, and repair all buildings on the light station when needed. Maintain lighthouse logbook and record all daily light station activities. Take weather readings every day and record in logbook. Weed the walkways and maintain the light station grounds. Take soundings of river and inlet channels. Move channel markers as needed. Lend assistance to ships and sailors in distress as needed. Clean keeper dwelling chimneys as needed to prevent fire. Maintain a clean uniform at all times. Lighthouses and their keepers have always fascinated and intrigued me. They have a mysterious aura about them. They offered guidance, hope, safety, and a beacon of light in the darkness. They not only worked tirelessly to keep the light on, but they would also risk their lives by using a boat in rough waters to rescue sailors from their shipwrecks. There is someone else who keeps his light on to show us the way. Jesus sacrificed his life to rescue us, but he rose again to offer us eternal life. Check out his heroic and amazing stories in the gospel books of the Bible. Our God also has a mysterious aura about him, but once you begin to experience his love, protection, and peace, you will never be the same. Thanks for watching, and may the Lord bless you and keep you safe on your future voyages until you reach your final destination.